The biggest misconception about improvisation is that you're just going out there. It's like there's massive preparation, but the preparation is mostly psychological. How do you practice for something that you have no idea what's going to happen and you can't control? Any situation he goes into, it's never the situation you think you're going into. Yeah. And even that situation will change while you're in conversation. Or maybe there's a third party who's involved that no one has mentioned. Everyone's behavior makes sense if you have enough information. People do end up revealing themselves when they're asked a lot of questions. You think people want to be seen as their prettiest selves, smartest selves, right? It's not true. We want to be seen as we see ourselves. So if I see myself as clumsy, it's really important for you to see me as clumsy so you won't throw me a ball, but I'm not going to tell you. Just a note that if you're having a problem with someone at work, they really bug you, it's because you both make decisions the same way. And for people when they get stumbled, it's like, why are you stumbling? You have the world.
You can make anything up.
You have everything at your disposal because facts aren't important. Why do we love novels or poetry? Because they're speaking a kind of truth to us that facts don't provide. So what I've discovered over time is the same thing that made Colbert and Tina Fey and Amy Poehler famous is the thing that makes anyone successful.
Which is what?
But all we do is produce stars. So maybe the key to becoming a star is actually
Welcome to a new episode of Disrupt the Podcast with your co-hosts Andres Tapia
and Eloisa Domingo,
where we challenge conventional thinking and we look at the new ways that are shaping our future.
Yes, and we are here for a very special episode of Disrupt the Podcast where we will be talking about the disruption of preparation. We happen to be on actually a place that you and I are very comfortable with on stage, but this is a really interesting stage, Andres, because where are we?
We are at Second City here in Chicago.
In downtown
Chicago. The birthplace of some of the greatest comedians that people have known over the decades.
And how we're going to learn more about that today?
I think we have a special guest.
We have a special guest, and we're going to have our special guest introduce yourself to him, but let's bring him out stage style. So we're going to do like, ready?
Drum roll.
Drum roll. Bing!
Welcome.
Kelly.
Hey, Kelly.
Hi, Kelly.
Welcome to your stage.
welcome to Second City.
Thank you so much.
So great to have you.
Have a seat. Oh my gosh, Kelly, I was saying that like it's so, you must be so used to these lights.
Yeah.
It just doesn't do anything to you anymore.
No, I mean, I don't like it, but yes, I'm used to it.
But you're used to it, but it's awesome. So Kelly, tell us first of all, where are we? We're in this beautiful, beautiful area, and we'd love for you to introduce yourself.
Sure, my name is Kelly Leonard. I've got a very long title. What is it? I am the Vice President of Creative Strategy, Innovation and Business Development for the Second City.
That's a cool title.
But I've been a creative executive here, a producer here since 1992, and I started here in 1988. So we're at the Second City. Specifically, we're in Judy's Beat Lounge, which is one of our studio theaters, on the third floor of the Second City. We got about 60,000 square feet here. There's like 7, 8, 9 stages, a bunch of different classrooms. So it's just a hub of creativity at any given time.
And what is this space used for? I mean, we've got seats out here and things.
So these will be student shows, these would be rentals, there could be classes in here, all different kinds of things. The professional stages, the main stage and the ETC downstairs have full-time resident companies. We have Up Comedy Club, which is right over there, which is a third commercial venue where we do things. And then, again, like 4 or 5 of these studio theaters that are spread out.
Wow.
Yeah, I know we're going to talk about what you're doing now, but also, how did you say you started?
Right.
Yeah.
But where did you start when you?
I started here in 1988 as a dishwasher.
No way.
And it is,
that's so cool.
It is not glamorous. I was giving someone a tour today, and I was explaining that back when I started, as I was cleaning beer glasses, and we only served Strohs when I started, and you could smoke in the theater. So I would go home just reeking of stale. Oh my God, it was the worst.
Yeah.
So I washed dishes, and on stage at that point were Mike Myers and Bonnie Hunt and Jane Lynch.
No.
Chris Farley and Tim Meadows had just been hired in the touring company.
So cool.
And then I had a series of different jobs here, but I became the producer in 1992.
What was your break? I mean, how do you go from dishwasher
I was going
to
the
in 4 years to producer?
Yeah. In 4 years.
Yeah. Things work differently then.
No kidding, and innovation.
So I got the job, the dishwashing job, actually from the former owner of Second City. Bernie Solins was starting a new theater. And I just graduated college, and I was doing informational interviews because my dad was a theater reviewer here in town, so he knew people, so I was very lucky.
Wow.
And Bernie said I could come work for his theater, but it wasn't starting yet. So he said, it's going to start in 6 months. I'll help get you a job at Second City, which was the dishwashing job. So I did that for a few weeks, and then convinced Allison Riley, who was the manager, to have me host the room, like help seat the room.
Yeah.
That was a much better job.
Than dishwashing.
And then I left to go work for Bernie's Theater, which did not do well. So when I left that about a week before it closed.
Okay.
And I came back, and my friend Ann was the box office manager. And I was getting married to my first wife, and she didn't want me working so many evenings. So Ann hired me to work the days. So I did all the day shifts in the box office. And for anyone in this kind of space, in an art space, you want to be in the box office because that's where the money comes in.
Oh, okay.
And that's where the customers are all calling.
Yeah.
And this is pre-internet, right? So it was phones.
Yeah.
And we were all cash
Buying
at that
tickets.
point.
Yeah. What are those?
Yeah, and hardline phones. There's no.
Oh yeah, those
They're
are.
busy signals.
I remember seeing the first cell phone I ever saw. There was a film crew in town, and one of those guys had one of those
The big
giant,
ones,
yes,
yeah.
the
I
giant
love
phones,
those.
and I was like, "Who's this idiot?" So Anne was leaving to go to graduate school, and they wanted me to become the box office manager. And I knew I didn't know the term job crafting at that point, but I was into job crafting. I did not want to work the evening box office shift. I didn't want to work in that window, and that's what the box office manager did. So I convinced the producer at the time, I go, let me become the box office manager, but not work the window. I'll start doing group sales. I'll help work the concierges at hotels. And they said yes. Wow. So I kind of invented this job and had some success. And then our new owner had moved back to town and took me under his wing, and I became his executive assistant. And then when I was 26, 1992, he offered me the job of associate producer of the Second City.
So was
my
there
gosh.
something funny that you said, or what was the key for? Because it's not okay. You
I'll
made
tell
the
you.
connections, but what happened?
All right. I showed up on time. I was nice to people. And you could trust that I was going to do what I said I was going to do.
So reliable.
That's simple.
Yeah.
Three things. It turns out I'm curious, and there's other things skills that I eventually developed, but I think those were the key. And plus, Andrew, who hired me for this position, had a very bad habit of believing the last person he talked to, and I was always the last person he talked to because I was his executive assistant.
You made it that way though, right?
Well, I don't. Again, maybe I sensed that was
that
going
was
down,
happening.
and
Yeah.
but I kept in close proximity.
Wow.
And then it's my first round of hiring. So my first cast was Steve Carell, Stephen Colbert, and Amy Sedaris. And I hired Tina Fey and Amy Poehler and Rachel Dratch. And then a whole slew of other people. So the 90s were very good to both Second City and me.
What was it like to work with such talent?
Yeah.
Oh, it's great. I mean, because especially at the beginning, these are your friends, right?
Right.
So
And it's
my friend Anne, who was in the box office, who is my now wife.
Oh, okay.
She was Stephen Colbert's roommate at Northwestern.
Oh my God.
So they all lived in a house together. And Colbert was trying to pay for the rent by making futon frames in their basement because Jesus was a carpenter. And
I mean,
you know exactly what I mean. You know exactly what I mean if you know Stephen Colbert, even a little bit. And so she was like, there's a position open at Second City for selling T-shirts. He held the record for the most sold T-shirts for many decades.
Wow.
Really? Yeah, until recently, and he's still not happy about it. That he lost the record.
So I know.
But then, he was a serious actor. He was not a comedian, but you could take free classes at that point if you worked on staff. His first class is where he met Paul Dinello and Amy Sedaris, who are his lifelong collaborators.
Yeah.
So he was hooked. So these are your friends. And then when you're in the position of being their boss, it's harder to be a friend, but also you have a front row seat to developing talent. And you see how far they take their careers, right? So then you start to analyze, okay, what is it about these people? There's a phrase in improv that I love, and it applies to so many different things. You play the scene you're in, not the scene you want to be in.
Oh, I love that.
Wow.
So you don't linger in the past, you don't linger in the future, you're
In it.
truly
Here.
in the moment. Because I have to be, because we're going to create a script together. There is no outside
Yeah.
script, right?
Yeah.
So I have to listen to every word you say. And then I have to
Yeah.
listen to the words you're not saying. And the thing is, that is a real powerful place to be, because most of us check out.
Oh, for sure.
So if we're having a conversation, like if the conversation is the length of my arm, when are you starting to think about what you want to respond
Oh,
to?
as soon as you open your mouth, honestly. Because you're trying to prepare.
Yeah, and it could be the elbow, it could be
Yeah.
right there, whatever.
Yeah.
But in improv, you can't do that because the last thing you say might be all the information I need to build from. How is that any different in the world?
It's so true.
It isn't.
Yeah.
So what I've discovered over time is the same thing that made Colbert and Tina Fey and Amy Poehler famous and successful is the thing that makes anyone successful.
Which is what?
great listening.
And being in the moment, it sounds like.
World-class listening.
Yeah.
And there's more, and there's communication and other things, but it starts with the listening.
And what does that look like?
Do you want to do a quick exercise?
Yeah,
Yes.
that'd be
I'm
great.
going to show you. Okay, you're going to look at each other, and you're going to have a conversation, and let's start with like what you had for breakfast today, but it can go anywhere. There is one rule, all right, that the person responding, they have to start their response with the last word the other person said.
The last word. Okay.
And that is these are the only rules I'm giving you. You're going to have a conversation, and I'm going to ask you to start.
Okay.
Talk about breakfast.
Okay.
You're going to respond starting with the last word, and then you're going to then respond with the last word.
With the last word
That's
that
the
he
only
said.
rule I'm giving. It's the only rule I'm giving. Have your conversation.
I had a piece of bread from Panera.
Panera? You got to be kidding. I would not ever go there.
There is in where, Andres?
Where did I find the eggs that I had for? Didn't you say where?
I said Andres.
Oh, you said Andres. Sorry.
It's okay.
Andres, I asked myself, if not Panera, what?
What are you talking about?
About? I'm talking about the fact that I don't like Panera, but I had some eggs somewhere.
Somewhere over the rainbow? Is that what you're asking me? I'm like literally not. I'm asking you what you ate for breakfast.
Breakfast? Oh, breakfast, yes. I had eggs.
Okay,
Not
see.
from Panera.
See?
All right. So let's unpack what just
Yes,
happened
let's do
there.
it.
So was that hard?
It was fun. I don't know if it was hard,
At the
but
beginning-
I had to listen.
I had to listen. I didn't even hear my name, so I wasn't listening.
But we hear in improv there are no mistakes.
That's true.
And that was the beautiful thing about that moment. You didn't allow it to derail you. You
Yeah,
had a little
no.
moment, and then you kept going. Because I gave you no other instructions, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what happens with some people, you did the exercise quite nicely. Because some people, they get caught up, like I need to make sense of this thing. It's like, I didn't give you that instruction.
Yeah.
I gave you one instruction. So this work that we do, and this might surprise you, all these games, these exercises, they were developed by a social worker at Jane Addams Hull House on the south side of Chicago in the 20s and 30s. Her name was Viola Spolin.
Way back then.
And her job was to better integrate the immigrant children coming into her care.
Oh.
No way.
So she developed all these games, many of which were in silence or gibberish because the kids don't always share language.
Yep.
If they did, she'd have them do things like this. And the whole thing is about what is the point of focus in the exercise. My point of focus was very simple with you, and I've tried to make it really clear.
Yep.
You're simply supposed to listen. You're supposed to listen to the last word they said and start your sentence. Anything else can happen. Now you actually made it kind of a successful interaction. It wasn't that clunky or awkward because you're, I think, rather expert communicators.
Sure.
But you get to practice this. This is the thing.
Yeah.
People don't practice their listening. And so this is about, it's not role playing so much as it's embodied practice of a skill.
Well, what's the
skill.
difference between role playing? Because that's what I was going to say. I
So
thought, wasn't
role
this
playing is often like, I'm going to give you a scenario in your business that you normally have, and I want you to go like try this thing out. We're less interested in that, and we're more interested in like, let's just talk about the skills. The skills that make up our days.
That's interesting.
And so one of those skills is listening. And I could change the point of focus of that exercise or do a different exercise, which is going to be more about the actual words you're saying or about where your body is in relation to this. There's all these, I mean, there's thousands of these games.
Wow.
And so Viola was developing these, and her son, Paul Sills, was studying at the University of Chicago. And they had no theater department, but he was a theater guy. And so he loved these games, and he taught them to his friends, Mike Nichols, Elaine May, Alan Arkin. They formed the first improvisational theater in America. It was called the Compass Players. This is 1955.
Wow.
And that morphs into the Second City, which opens in
Does it
1959.
really? Oh, what a
Well,
Chicago legacy, huh?
yeah.
No, I know. I think that's, you're using a lot of these terms. I think that I know for me, I tend to assume that I know. But Kelly, tell us, because we're here to talk a little bit about improv.
Yep.
Improv is what?
I mean, improvisation is making something out of nothing.
Okay.
Is kind of where I put it, which is how we live our lives, right? I often say improvisation is a practice in being unpracticed. Because how do you practice for something that you have no idea what's going to happen and you can't control?
Yeah.
This happens throughout our lives, right? And so in the art of improvisation and what we teach clients, so we teach it here at the training center to people who want to do this work, but we have a big division that works with Fortune 500 companies and some other interesting clients. And we are teaching these very specific skills that are going to make them sort of really focusing on the moments you're in, you know? And people know when they're being listened to and they like it.
Yeah.
They really do. We all desire to be seen.
Yeah.
So we had a program that we did for about 4 years at the University of Chicago called the Second Science Project, which looked at behavioral science through the lens of improvisation and vice versa. So we've always known how important it is to be seen and to listen and be others focused. But when you're working with a behavioral scientist, they're adding these little like layers. And I remember I was in a meeting with my friend Heather Caruso, so she's a behavioral scientist, and we co-led this lab. And it was every week, we would have scientists and improv experts come together.
That's cool.
I know that is so cool.
And we were talking about this idea, the listening and being seen, and she's like, do you know William Swan's work? And I'm like, I don't know. And he's a professor in Texas, and he has a concept called self-verification theory. And so Swan, when he talks about it, he says, you know, how you think people want to be seen as their prettiest selves, smartest selves, right? It's not true. We want to be seen as we see ourselves.
Really?
So if I see myself as clumsy, it's really important for you to see me as clumsy so you won't throw me a ball, but I'm not going to tell you.
That's being seen, right?
So the only way we're going to find out is by asking a lot of questions. That's how we find out how people see themselves. And this is a very powerful thing because I'm like, oh, it's not just about being others focused in terms of on the surface. It's about actually getting to know what these people care about. And Nick Epley, who's one of the scientists we work with, this is his work in psychology, which is that most of us don't understand what's going on. We might 20% of the time, 30% of the time.
Yeah.
But how could we? If you really think about it.
Yeah, no, you're right.
You have no idea what I'm going to say. You're just walking into a room. You have no idea what my experiences are before, or how I'm feeling walking into this room today, or whatever. And I don't with you.
Yeah.
So, if you can allow yourself to be incredibly curious, you're going to ask a lot of questions, and people do end up revealing themselves when they're asked a lot of questions.
Wow. You know, what's twisting my mind here is that, you know, when we talked about coming to Second City,
Yeah.
you know, you think about comedy.
Comedy.
Yeah.
Right? And you think that, oh, we'll learn some techniques of comedy, which, okay, that's
Yeah,
part
yeah.
of it. But the way you're going, you're talking about a life skill, not
Yeah.
a...
Human
not
behavior.
Human behavior in a real profound way.
But that's why it's funny. I mean, if you think about it, because like we're idiots. I mean, it's like, why do we laugh? We laugh at surprise.
Yeah.
We laugh because we think it was going to be one thing, but it's another thing. And then we're like, oh, but that's actually what it is. It's like what we're fighting. And there is some, I'm married to a tenured professor of comedy, so pardon me in terms of the nerd level of how, you can imagine what my dinner
We
time is like.
love,
comedy,
no,
okay.
we love it.
So yeah, and my wife Ann just released a book called Funnier, which is all about her theory of comedy. And there is some science that suggests that we learn to laugh as a mechanism for when we are wrong in a situation.
Yeah.
So if you think evolutionary, it's like you hear that thing and you think it's a bear and it turns out to be a bird. And it's like we laugh. And you laugh to sort of relieve the tension. So there's many theories of comedy that involve this idea of release, tension and release,
Yeah.
Freud being among them.
Yeah.
But that, so if you start to understand the mechanics of comedy also being about human behavior, improvisation being a specific technique that we use, it's like, it's not that far to see why psychology wouldn't have a place in comedy and vice versa.
You know, one thing, as I'm listening to you though, Kelly, one word you haven't used yet, which is hitting me, is discomfort.
Right.
It's like you're saying curiousness, you know, and so you have to be, but to me, when I don't know, when I don't know what's gonna happen here, there is a level of, I'll be honest with you, I tend to go discomfort versus curious. It's just like, just get me to a place of knowing.
Yeah.
You know, but so it's interesting that you're not using that word.
Oh,
though.
I use it all the time. I just haven't yet.
Yeah.
One of the things we always say is we make you comfortable with being uncomfortable.
See, that's,
So it's not comfortable. And so one of the things about, like, let's just say like a level A class, a beginning class at Second City, what are we doing in the first couple classes? We are just getting you out of your judgment brain. And when I say that, I mean judgment of self and judgment of others. So of those two, what do you think we're more often living in, judgment of self or judgment of others?
Self.
Exactly. So, and you know, that's the thing is like, audiences are not looking for you to fail. They really want you to do well.
Yeah.
They say they want to cringe, right? When
Yeah.
they see you failing, they cringe.
Right.
Yeah.
So when you're up here, it's like, and you're thinking like, I don't want to, like, they're all thinking about themselves, by the way, too. You know, they're not necessarily even thinking about you. So this removing judgment of self, judgment of others, getting you out of your fear and shame brain.
Yep.
It's a kind of mindfulness that we're teaching you through practice. And a lot of that is you're going to fail over and over and over again. I'll give you another
Do you
example.
feel uncomfortable about that?
Yeah.
Sure, it's not comfortable.
No. Yeah.
So I was just attending a keynote that one of our people was doing. She's trying out a new keynote. And she did an exercise early to sort of display this to the audience. She asked for a volunteer who came on stage. And she goes, I've got a box. She gave, here's the rules. She said, Nick, who's on stage with me, is going to answer every question I give him of this imaginary thing I'm holding. Your job, audience, is to cheer wildly to everything he says. That's cool. So it's like, I'm going to take the lid off the box. What's in the box? And he just said something like, it's a baseball. And they went wild. And then it's like a celebrity signed it. Who signed it? You know, Brad Pitt went wild, right? And on and on and on. And she's like, that's the place we set at Second City for our students and for our ensembles, which is like everything they're doing is right. So there's no reason to be thrown.
Oh, wow.
Because if you're thrown, play with it. We learn to make mistakes work for us.
Yeah.
We see all obstacles as gifts.
Yeah.
And part of that, and this is the preparation part, right? Because like the biggest misconception about improvisation is that you're just going out there and winging it. It's like there's massive preparation, but the preparation is mostly psychological. So what did I do with you backstage before we came on?
Oh, yeah. So there was a technique that was really cool. And by the way, we wanted to use this with our team.
Yeah.
Is you came up and you said everybody does this in backstage, and you say, I got your back.
Yep, and we all did it.
And we all did it.
We all did to
each other.
Yeah. And that is that little boost that you might need
That's cool.
for us to come out and be like, I'm going to take care of you. I'm going to take care of you. You're going to take care of me. We already made a vow back there. And it's such a better way, and that's a kind of anchoring, again, a psychological term.
Yeah.
We did a study when we were doing the program at University of Chicago. So in addition to having a lab on campus, they would come here and do some studies. And Ayelet Fishbach, who's a wonderful scientist, wanted to study, a bunch of new students came in, and they all did the same exercise, and they filmed every one of these things. And half the group was just given the instructions to the exercise. And the other half were just given instructions going, this is going to be a little uncomfortable. It's going to be a little uncomfortable. Just go with it. You're fine. Just go with it. That group, who were just given that nudge, were more successful over a longer period of time than the other group.
Because you had prepared them that it's going to be.
But the preparation was like a sentence.
Isn't that amazing?
But it was still preparation.
Yeah.
It was preparation.
That's amazing.
So I'm saying I think we get preparation wrong. I think often we get preparation. We think we can cram, and it's like, is reading a book going to allow you to climb a mountain?
No.
No.
Is reading a book
No.
going to allow you to ride a bike?
No.
No. So when we're out in the world, we're doing
We're
stuff.
doing it. Yeah.
So this is embodied practice.
Yeah.
I'm going to practice having a conversation with you. I'm going to practice looking you in the eye. I'm going to practice making a mistake and seeing what that feels like.
Yeah.
And I'm going to do that over and over again. And guess what? We get good at it.
And what's the role of risk in all this?
Yeah, I was
Because
gonna
we're
s-
so risk averse in life, right?
So-
And you're just
Yeah.
making things sound really risky here.
Yeah.
They are. So my wife and I were talking about this because in my book, Yes and, I have a whole chapter on failure. And we're very failure forward. And she decided to stop using in her classes the word failure because she's like, no one wants to fail. Failure sucks. What actually we're doing is teaching people to take risks. That's what we're doing. And you are going to fail at times, of course. The example I always use with this, and I think it's why I think the percentage is applicable across industries. If I'm a Major League Baseball player and I'm having a meeting with my coach or the general manager, and I've failed at bat 70% of the time, how am I doing?
Not good.
Actually, no.
You're doing very good.
Very good.
Oh, I don't know
Yeah.
anything about baseball.
Yeah.
So like, that's
I've learned.
I'm
a
that's why
soccer guy, but
I'm a soccer guy
learned,
too.
Yeah, I
Sure,
learned
yeah,
that
that's
30%
okay.
is
Got
pretty
it.
good.
So 30% is you're a
I
three.
heard 70.
30% hitting the ball is you're a 300 hitter, which is you're probably going to become an all-star.
Yeah, exactly.
If you consistently do that.
Yeah.
So he's failing 70% of the time. So we're all failing
Oh, I
70% of
got
the
it.
time.
That's cool.
We're missing the ball. We do that all the
The
time.
30% you're saying is pretty
It's
good.
great. You should be fine with that.
Yeah, all-star.
Yes, all-star.
Yeah.
All-star.
Well, one of the things, Kelly, that we've talked a little bit about in preparation for the conversation. So the world that I come from is actually crisis. Helping teams through crisis, helping communication crisis, and really, like Andres and I have talked about before, we're not really in a place in the world where things are going well, right now.
What are you talking about?
What exactly? What is happening? But 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 I'm seeing kind of hints of this, where it's like, have you done some of that, where it's like in crisis management or whatever, maybe even like roles of crisis management?
So I got a few. Here's the coolest one, which was 3 years ago. We got a message through the phone system here, and one of our corporate salespeople, Ash Tree Branch, yes, that's her real name.
Ash Tree Branch?
Yes, Tree Branch.
Hi, Ash.
Shout out.
Shout out.
She picked up this message, and it was, "This is Vince from the FBI. Will you call me back? Here's my number." So we're assuming this is a bit, right? We're at Second City. Someone's like counting us. But no, she calls back, and it's Vince D'Alfonso, who turns out legend in the FBI.
Oh.
He now teaches at the FBI National Academy at Quantico. Oh. And he had seen a keynote I delivered during COVID for Harvard. And I talk about improv and negotiation, and he is the hostage crisis negotiation teacher at Quantico. And he had a hunch. He started listening to my podcast, and he was like, "I think there's something in what Kelly's doing and what you guys are doing that could be interesting." And he really thought we were going to laugh him out of the room, and we're like, "No, we're totally interested." Yeah. So Tree, myself, and our colleague Tyler Dean Kemp.
Did you call her Tree?
Yeah, Tree Branch.
Tree Branch?
Ash Tree Branch.
Okay, got it.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, I'm
Ash
caught.
tree.
See, I'm listening. I'm just trying to follow you.
So
Using the last word.
we got invited out to Quantico for a week.
Okay.
So we had to pass our background checks. So I have no idea how I passed that. But we found ourselves chasing Vince, who's in his black SUV down these winding roads, and we had to go through 3 checkpoints, and then we basically shadowed classes for the first day. And the second day, at some point right before one of the classes, the instructor, who was a person we had talked to earlier, was like, "I might have you guys take over the class." This was right before it started. So we're like, okay.
Wow.
So we're writing down what we do. So she calls us up. And it was funny because Vince, at our first meeting, he had us meet at a biker bar in Virginia with his colleague Sam. And he's like, "If anyone asks, don't say you're from Second City, say you're from the University of Chicago." That happens to be a lie, but okay. So we get called up, and we decide we're going to lead this exercise called Take That Back. And normally, I have a whole rap I do in front of these rooms, but being someone who's studied in improvisation, I'm trying to read the room I'm in, and that room did not want to hear a rap and was not going to respond to the fact that I hired Stephen Colbert. In fact, they were probably the opposite. So
these were agents, FBI
These are
agents?
all senior law enforcement.
Senior law enforcement.
Yeah,
okay.
so at the FBI National Academy, you can apply to be part of this program. It's all senior law enforcement, and it's led by the cream of the crop.
Got it.
So we're from Second City. We also work with the University of Chicago, and we're going to jump you into an exercise. So get in groups of 3. So we had everyone get in groups of 3, and we're like, you guys are going to have a conversation, but the third, person A, person B, and person C, figure out who is person A, person B, person C. So they do that. And it's funny because Tyler, who helped lead this, has a funny thing he does. He's like, "This isn't the exercise, but I want to give you guys a quick freebie. How many of you did I'm A, you're B, you're C, let's go?" He goes, "And how many of you were like, I'm B, you two figure it out?" And he's like, and Tyler says to him, he goes, "Just a note that if you're having a problem with someone at work, they really bug you, it's because you both make decisions the same way. You're the same guy who's like, I'm person A." It was just a little bit of a freebie. Which I always love because it's funny. But then they had the person A and B have a conversation. Person C does this. And every time they do this, the person who's speaking has to take back the last thing they're saying and replace it with something new. Okay. And sometimes they can do, and they just have to keep doing it, back. So we do this exercise, and the alpha, because we had been watching classes, this guy was like ripped. He was the guy who came in, made all the jokes. Everyone sort of looked at him. He immediately raised his hand. He's like, "I get why this is important." He was basically saying, as a law enforcer, on law enforcement, any situation he goes into it's never the situation you think you're going into. No. And even that situation will change while you're in conversation, or maybe there's a third party who's involved that no one has mentioned, or whatever. He goes, "You're giving us practice in pivoting. Yeah. You're giving us practice in being agile." And he's like, "No one has ever taught me that. We've talked about it, but no one has ever taught me how to practice the skill of doing this."
Yeah.
And so and the thing went great. And then we actually did more exercises with this group, and then we did another workshop, and now we're also working with the University of Chicago Crime Lab.
Wow.
Can you give us an example of how that played out in a real situation, like the pivoting, right?
Yeah.
Now that I've learned this technique, how does it play out?
Well, so we haven't done more stuff at the FBI because that's changed.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, yeah, a little bit.
a lot.
I don't see Cash Patel picking up the phone and bringing in the
Yeah.
improv guys.
Yeah, yeah.
But the University of Chicago Crime Lab, we are working with them right now, and we're more in touch with that group. And we just did an event, and a senior law enforcement guy from Philly was talking about the fact that he said a very interesting thing. He goes, I took home these exercises, and yes, I applied them in my job, but I also applied them
At
at
home,
home.
I bet. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I was going to say. Yeah.
So he's like talking to the
crisis.
kids,
Yeah.
talking to
Yeah.
the wife,
Yep.
because that ain't easy either.
No.
And so if you, and I know this in terms of my wife Ann and I and our kids Nick and Nora, you know, we were constantly, so like Nick was a natural born communicator. And we have a game called One Word Story where you tell a story one word at a time.
How fun.
That's cool.
That's so fun.
And Nick is very good at it, but Nora was not a born communicator. Every time we would do this exercise around the dinner table, you know, it would get to Nora, instead of like the or is or to that would have fit,
Yeah.
she'd say platypus. But here's the thing, she'd
She's
do
my
that,
hero.
she'd sort of think she got a laugh, but then she screwed up the game, and she wanted to win the game. So we kept doing it, and then I'm telling you, the thes, the is, the tos, she would do, and she got better at this. And then they would, at pickup time in the car and go home, we'd do One Word Story. And basically, we're giving her skills building in being a better listener and better communicator, and knowing what's appropriate, what's not. And it doesn't mean you can't throw in a platypus or two. You're going to get that moment.
Yeah.
But a lot of times, when the world just needs an and, give them an and.
Yeah.
How does, one thing that as I'm listening to you, again, I'm trying to pick up on the words that maybe you're not saying, but I'm picking up on. Again, in crisis management, one of the things that we also teach is not just the skill of listening, but also the skill of managing your emotions, you know?
Sure.
So you're in a situation, like you said, in law enforcement, and you've got one thing coming at you, you've got another thing coming, you've got another thing coming through this door, but I've got to stay as objective as possible.
Yep.
How are you talking about, I guess, like, how are these things eliciting feelings?
Sure.
How are you managing the feelings?
Well,
you
it's
know?
self-regulation, right?
Yeah.
So we've got an exercise called red ball, and so we'll have the whole group, and we have here's a red ball. I've got a red ball.
Okay.
I'm going to throw it to you, and I throw it to you, and your job is to say, "Thank you, red ball."
Thank you, Red Ball.
And then you're going to throw it to someone else, and they're going to say, "Thank you, red ball."
Thank you,
right?
red ball.
Well, and we do that around the room.
Okay.
And so we're doing that around the room, and then I'm like, blue ball, keep going with the red ball, blue ball, and I throw the blue ball. And then green ball. So at a certain point, what you're realizing is everyone needs to look around. It's like, okay, what did you do? So when we're debriefing, and then sometimes it's baby carriage, whatever.
Oh my gosh.
So, what did you do to kind of, make that successful or not, And it's like, eye contact. Oh, I decided to do a nod before I said the thing to the person. Oh, I decided to look away so they wouldn't throw it at me because they were not going to throw it at me. So you start to think like, there are techniques I can use when chaos exists. And here's what's fascinating.
Manage.
There's not that many studies on improvisation. Actually, we've probably done the most in the sort of contemporary. Do you know where there are the most studies on improvisation?
Where?
Crisis. The hurricane in Japan.
Oh, yeah.
The 2 nuclear reactors.
Yeah.
The one that went down, the one that didn't.
Yeah.
And the one that didn't, they were all improvising.
Wow.
Aircraft carriers.
Oh, I've
And
heard that one.
That's a famous one in terms of you have to make split-second
Yes.
communication.
But I'm struck by the fact that you're bringing improvisation as necessary and successful in so many situations.
Yeah.
Right? You're talking about law enforcement, crises, aircraft carriers, right?
Yeah.
Personal relationships, jobs. So, but we're so obsessed with preparation.
We are.
Yeah.
So, how can we be so trapped in preparation when improv seems to be the lubricant or the secret sauce?
Well, what's the right kind of preparation? And it's different so I host a podcast, and it's almost always with an author. And I got this from my dad, who used to interview people as well. I read the whole book. I underline, and then I do my notes. Now, I'm doing that for a couple of different reasons. I take it very seriously, and what I also know is the authors love it because it never happens. But also, I'm doing a learning loop for myself. So what we know about learning, the science of learning, is it's not just about reading. It's then can you regurgitate the information back, and then have that person come back to you and confirm or So I'm doing myself a service by doing this in my job, where that's also a marketing tool. It's a business development tool. All these different things. So that's one form of preparation that's very specific. But the other thing is, my life is not just living and doing a podcast, right? I have to go exist in the world. And especially right now, in Chicago, it ain't easy. So we talked a bit about this. I took my dog out for a walk, ran into ICE agents. I do not want them in my neighborhood. And I have to decide, as a 59-year-old man with my puppy, what can I do in that moment? And I got out my phone, kept a distance. Younger people were going closer. I'm like, okay, I'm observing the situation. We all have a role inside this. Mine is not to be silent, but mine is also not on the front lines right now. And I'm going to give money to a food bank, and I'm going to do other. There's different. So all these different kinds of situations. Every day I have to make decisions about how I want to live my life. And I think about this a lot because my age and things I've gone through. I've got a 28-year-old son in the world, and more and more I just sort of realize that my happiness has always been tied to my relationships, and so I'm most interested in tending to all my relationships. So I think small talk's fine. In fact, my friend Alison Wood Brooks wrote a whole book about how small talk is a great way to sort of leverage into a conversation. I tend to go a little more quickly.
Yeah.
And that's just who I am. But by doing that, and Epley would call that self-disclosure, I'm also inviting you to do that.
Yeah,
with me.
right.
We just did it here before.
I agree with that.
We got to a much more interesting area quickly.
I agree.
Because we shared. And I also recognize my privilege in that. I'm a 59-year-old straight white guy with a Wikipedia page. So not everyone has that. I sold a bunch of books. Not everyone has that. So, but I want to use all that stuff for good, if I can.
Yeah. Well, it sounds to me, it's interesting that you're saying that, because now that I know that a little bit more, and we think back to, your days as a dishwasher, and then you got to a producer within 4 months.
4 years.
4 years. I said 4
I
months.
wish 4 months.
I thought 4 months. I was that impressed with you.
It was a long 4 years.
I know, it was a long 4 years. But it sounds to me, Kelly, that that's really what you relied on, is the people that knew. I always say it's not in who you know, it's in who knows you. Like, for example,
Yes.
like I know Beyonce, she doesn't know who I am. That doesn't
right,
do me any good.
right.
But it sounded to me like you really got in front of the right people, whatever the right is, but making sure that they knew who you were, but that you also advocated for yourself.
There's a terrific author I had on, Rosalind Chow, who talks about sponsorship. And
Huge.
what I loved about her, she's like, people don't always understand the difference between mentorship and sponsorship. So mentorship is when people are talking to you. Sponsorship is when they're talking about you,
especially when you're not in the room.
When you're not in the room, and that is of course what you want. And how do you get to that quickly? It's not magic. It's not charisma. What I love is my friend Sunil Gupta wrote a great book called Backable. He wanted to research how people became backable because he had an early failure. And one of the things he realized is, like, if you go back and watch Fred Rogers in front of Congress, very famous thing defending PBS, he's not like a master orator.
No, he's not.
What he is he believes what he's saying.
And it's
you
so
can
touching.
Tell. And the same with Steve Jobs on that stage. Also not a great public speaker, but you're like, this guy believes in what he's saying.
True.
So Kelly, when we were talking before we came on, you talked about a young, aspiring improv actor spending some time with you and wanting to know what were the secrets of your success. How do you go from dishwasher to this? But you said something very interesting to us about how the answers that you came up with were not the answers that he needed.
Right.
And it sort of landed a little bit on relationships. Can you share about that?
Yeah, I was just thinking about this today because, when I came up, I always had a net. So, that's a thing, right? So my parents were alive and, I could, and did. So my first divorce, I moved back home, like stuff like that. I had that. But I was making $20,000 a year and it was okay. I had an apartment and you could do that. And the scene was booming. And, post-COVID, it's not. And it is a much harder place to make it in the world than it was when I came up. But the thing I did wrong, because I didn't want to just be like a drag with this girl, was I said, I will tell you this at my age and with my experience, that all the success that I can actually point to when I think about what is really important to me has nothing to do with business. Has nothing to do with some like, oh yeah, like I closed a deal. Like I don't really care. And I closed some good deals here in my time that made a lot of money for the company. But that is not what I remember. What I remember, here, I'll tell you one thing I remember. It was the 50th anniversary of the Second City, so we had all the alumni coming back. And we were, Stephen Colbert and Steve Carell wanted to redo one of their scenes. and I had the copy of it on a disc in my, for my computer. And so we all watched it in my office together, and then they did the scene in my office, just the three of us. And then I remember that weekend, I was backstage, and Harold Ramis and Colbert were waiting to go on stage. We were doing T's and B's, tops and bottoms, just how you walk on the stage, how you leave it. So no one gets killed.
Okay.
Very important things.
Yeah.
And I saw Harold Ramis turn to Colbert and say, "Is this a weird time for me to say how much I admire you and your work?" And then Colbert just says to him, "I don't know, is it a weird time for me to say how much I admire you and your work?" And that was it. And I was the only one to watch that.
That's cool.
And here's another one. It was Harold Ramis's memorial, so he had passed away. And it was being hosted by Billy Crystal and Martin Short. And I was helping produce the memorial. And I'm backstage with Billy Crystal and Martin Short. And Harold was a bit of a kook. And so he had a drum circle, a bunch of friends who did drum circle.
Yeah, I was gonna.
So they came out and they were doing, there's a bunch of comedians, right? And these guys are out there very serious with their drum circles. And I see Billy Crystal turn to Martin Short. They did not exchange a single word. Martin Short and Billy Crystal at the same time just did this and looked up as if it was going to start raining. And then they both smiled at each other.
Awesome.
And that was it. And you guys know, right? Because you know these men. And how funny that was.
That's
I was just
awesome.
like, and all they did was to amuse each other.
That's amazing.
And so, none of that has, frankly, anything to do with me.
Yeah.
But I got to see these little moments of shared humanity.
Yeah.
In one case, a very sad moment. But it's like that's what I love about comedians is like, no one got into comedy because they're well-adjusted.
Yeah.
This is not the reason you do this.
Yeah.
But it's those hurts. Yeah. Colbert has a very tragic story. And Tina Fey has a very tragic story. And these people live their lives in the moment. So we're very close with Steve, and our daughter got sick and died. And Colbert was he and Ann texted like every day. Wow. And then at the memorial, which was held at Second City, suddenly Colbert and all his writers show up. He had double taped the night before, got a private plane so everyone could come out just to be here with us. And then spent the day at our house talking to everyone who wanted to talk. Yeah. We always made sure they told a Nora story.
Of course.
So it's like, when I think about the important things, these are what the important things are. And it's not because Stephen's famous, it's because he's a good man.
Yeah. I feel like I know I'm curious. Many of our audience may be curious because it sounds to me you have all these names that you're putting out. Yeah. But you really worked with them when they were much younger in their career, and it sounds to me like created this foundational, kind of parts of their career. Like Stephen Colbert was not a comedian; he was this instead. Now that you see them, do you see kind of how it all worked? You're also a researcher, longitudinally. Did it work?
Yeah, no, I do. And they all credit this stuff.
Really?
Bossy Pants. Tina talks all about improvisation. In Amy Poehler's book, same thing, because they learned a shared language. Yeah. They learned a shared mindset. They made these lifelong friends. We all came from here. It's like, I don't know about you guys, but for me, like on Facebook, I've stayed on Facebook, and I've only stayed on Facebook for one reason, it's my grade school friends.
Yeah, well,
I don't really care about my high school friends or my college friends, and I'm probably closer with the college friends, but it's my grade school friends because they knew my dogs, they knew my parents. It's a different knowing. Yeah. It's a different knowing. And I am still friends with some, really close with some of the grade school friends, luckily. And that's a little bit like Second City. It's kind of college, for them too. It's like, oh, we all grew up together. So, but the shared qualities that made them successful in career and in life are all the things we're talking about. It's the fact that they learned how to share a stage. I always find it interesting that we have an art form, right, that these guys all learned. And the art form is so respectful, and it's so much about making your partner look great, right? But all we do is produce stars.
Oh.
So maybe the key to becoming a star is actually focusing on someone else.
So given
That's
that,
cool.
focusing on somebody else, in a world where it's hyper competitive, very dangerous right now in many ways. There's a lot of anxiety, mental illness, health issues. Here we are on a stage where that's made hundreds of thousands of people laugh over the decades. how do we take these great stories, right? And people that you say have some tragic stories and yet created, successful lives in the process, right? So everybody has their pain and their traumas. What is it that you have seen in their lives and in your lives and those where these principles we're talking about, for people to lean into it and say, I am going to take the risk. Right? I am going to sort of pay attention to what other people are saying and more. We're asking people to kind of do something that are counter to what they usually do. But it sounds like there's a payoff.
Well, so is what you're doing now working? For most people, I'd say that's no.
Yeah.
And this is just a reframe. This is simply a reframe. Scott Barry Kaufman is a psychologist that we're just launching a new podcast about how to speak through difference. It's a limited series, so it's Scott and Allison Reese, who's a Second City alum. She's a comedian. So a comedian and psychologist. Amanda Knox is our first guest, and talking about her experience, and she's been doing stand-up.
Yeah.
And Scott introduced me to the term post-traumatic growth, and this is after Nora died. And I didn't know the term, and he's like, post-traumatic growth is the concept that you can use tragedy and grief and trauma as a way to improve your life. And this, because you kind of, after Nora died, and everyone is sending books and other things like that, and you sort of realize you got two choices. You let it ruin you and ruin your marriage, and that happens a lot.
Yeah,
the statistics
right.
are not
I was going to say,
Or you go the other route.
Yeah.
And I chose the other route, and my wife chose the other route, and we chose each other, and we chose Nick, and we chose our friends, and all that. And it's not that the terrible thing didn't happen, but I also get to talk about Nora a lot, and I keep her. And the school that she went to, Chicago Waldorf School, has a park named after her. And my friend Jason Sudeikis featured her in Ted Lasso. So Hannah Waddingham's character, she has a niece. With the green scarf. That's Nora. And our friend Ashley Nicole Black wrote that episode. And that just lives, So she lives in these different worlds. Would I rather have her here? Absolutely. But I'm playing the scene I'm in. So this is the scene I'm in. So I will celebrate her and all that she was amazing. And you can make these pivots, but it does take practice. I didn't just get there because I read a book, But the books help me in terms of I know this improv skill. I think about something similar. So what if I practice that? So I'm a pretty ritualized human being because of this, because I know that's what I need. So I know that I want to work out every morning, so I leave my sneakers out and everything. So it's all where it is. And I know I'm going to listen to a certain kind of podcast because that's going to let me do this thing. And I'm going to spend time with the dog and do, I've got Bernie's mountain dog puppy at home. Who just saw snow for the first time.
Oh, that's the best.
Oh my gosh, she was out of her mind.
I was going to say, I bet
and
she.
Again, talk about the and I share that story. I did this morning. So my barista downstairs, there's a Starbucks right downstairs.
Yeah, right. Yeah, we were just
went
there.
there.
So Miranda, who's the manager, who I see every day.
Okay.
She's like, how's the puppy? And I'm like, puppy's for snow. And she's like, did you take a video? I go, I took a video.
Of course you did.
All of them come over, and every customer had to wait, and then I had to go show the customers.
Of course.
And this is just this thing of you. Yeah, I don't know my phone on me. It's down there.
See it.
But it is that's using the stuff in terms of the self-disclosure we talked about. But also, I practice it. I have to work at it. Just like anyone else, my default is to say no or do nothing. Just like everyone else. But I'm so steeped in yes and that I have to remind myself, being a parent who writes yes and, not always fun.
I was going to say, but your kids are stop.
Also, you can't say no to them.
Yeah.
So this is one of my favorite stories about this is about Nora. So she had come up and she was like, I want a raise in my allowance. And she had not deserved it. She had
How old was she when she said this?
She was 8. So it was whatever. And so I'm like, I'm not going to say no. I go, yes. And if you can give us a good reason why, we will consider it. And she just sort of went, okay. And then I thought, I was so proud of myself because I got out of this.
Nice move, right?
And then Ann and I are getting ready for bed. We're in bed reading. And Nora walks in. And she is wearing one of my suit coats, and she's got a tie, wrote this, and she has a PowerPoint, which is construction paper.
She's my hero.
And she goes through this
freaking
complete
awesome.
BS, just BS, just making it up, whatever.
For her.
It was so funny, she got the allowance.
Of course she did.
And what I thought about with that was 25 cents doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
What we did was we just taught our 8-year-old daughter agency.
That's right. That's right.
And what is she going to need in life? I mean, and she always advocated on her own behalf.
Yeah. Is that the key to
amazing.
living the scene or playing the scene that you're in?
Well, I think agency, autonomy, I think these are all part of it. But as we talked about before with the relationships, which is we don't do this alone. And at Second City, we have ensembles. Other people call them teams.
Yep.
You probably have a group
Yep.
team, but we call them ensembles.
Yep.
And we use very specific ensemble language, and there's ensemble behaviors because your ensemble changes, but the rules don't. In terms of like show up on time, you got each other's back. Your job is to take care of each other, all that stuff. So that it goes back to the idea of like we make stars, but we're about ensembles, and the stars emanate from the ensembles, and not everyone is going to be a star, but almost everyone from these Second City ensembles goes on to some level of success, whether it's continuing on stage or some of them become psychologists, but a lot of them do end up in the industry, and their name isn't in lights, but they've produced like 25 things that you love.
That's amazing.
So it's very powerful work.
Yeah.
And I think it almost had to happen that you make all the famous comedy people, but then you kind of do this corporate work, and eventually people are like, oh, I get that.
Yeah.
Now I get the connection.
Yeah.
It helps having the sort of academic partners that we've had, and we work with all the big brands. We worked with Major League Baseball for
What do you
decades.
see
I was gonna
happen
say
with
that's
leaders
amazing.
that are,
Yeah.
leaders
Who are
talk
adopting
about
this.
preparation, right?
Yeah.
They think of preparation in a very formal, structured way.
Yeah,
and they
protocolized,
prepare, right?
and
Yeah.
But here you coming something very counter to that.
Yeah.
What do you see? What are some stories about leaders breaking through?
What I love is, so I lead a program at Kellogg every year, working with leaders, and they think they're going to come in and get presentation skills to like kill or slay a room, and then I'm teaching them skills of vulnerability.
Yeah.
So one of the things that leaders make a mistake is that audiences want to see them up here and crow about their successes. No one wants that.
No.
I want your fiasco, because you know what? You made it through, and you're standing on that stage. So I'm going to learn something about you. And this is, I mentioned Sunil Gupta. His whole thing was he went out for funding for the Rise app and got nothing. And he got asked to go speak at a thing called FailureCon. And then
cool.
it got reported in the New York Times. There was a giant banner that said failure above Sunil. And so he started researching what made people backable.
That's really cool.
And
actually.
he and my wife Ann actually turned that into a class at Northwestern.
Yeah. Yes.
So at the Farley School for Innovation and Entrepreneurship. And she's teaching now, Sunil, he shows up on Zoom every year, but she's teaching all these young entrepreneurs, engineers, how to use these skills to pitch themselves. And they think they're pitching their products. They're not pitching their products. People don't invest in products, they invest in people.
Yeah.
And so she's like, mine yourself. You have stories. Mine your relationships. Have different kinds of conversations. And then we're going to practice it in the room. So when I always guest lecture in the class, and one of the things I do is this expert speaker exercise.
Yeah.
You guys want to try it? Another?
Yeah, let's do it.
Well, what's interesting, and so the
Yes.
answer is yes, but what's interesting is we're both public speakers. So
Yep.
I have a keynote tomorrow, and I'm literally like,
this
I'm
is
sorry,
great.
I'm literally like, what am I doing? I'm like, no,
I'm
yes,
trying not to
let's
screw
do
you
this.
up.
Don't screw me up.
All right, so you're going to be person A, you're person B.
Okay.
Who am
B.
Person A, you're B.
Okay.
You,
I was not paying attention. Go ahead.
You're each going to do this.
Okay.
You're an expert.
Okay.
All right? But you're going to be an expert in everything that she's going to tell you you're an expert in. What you're going to do is give him a topic, a object. It could be radio, bees, World War II.
Okay.
And maybe about every 10, 15, 20 seconds,
Yeah.
you're going to change the object, the thing.
Okay.
Just keep giving these. But you're going to speak about everything as an
So
expert.
cool.
As an expert?
Yeah.
So I can just
All you're
say
giving
it.
just say. All you're doing is saying a word. So you have a low lift. You're just giving him a different word about every 20 seconds or so. And also, you might want to think how you could support him in being an expert. I don't want you to worry about facts. Facts are not important.
Okay.
You just share your expertise.
As if I'm an expert.
Yes.
Okay.
Ready?
Yeah.
Give him the first one.
Cookies.
Yeah, cookies are an ancient dessert where in the cave times.
Keep going. Keep
Did
going.
you say cave time?
Yeah, he said cave
What
times.
in the hell?
Go with it. Go
In
with
the
it.
cave times,
Support.
somebody. Yeah.
Pyramid.
Oh, pyramid.
Pyramid.
Oh, we go in there. Okay. So, well,
In the hell?
well, the cookies showed up again in the pyramids because everybody thinks about the mummified people, but there was cookie making happening.
Wait, drop the cookies, dude.
And the lineage of that was the caves.
Okay, eyelash curler. Eyelash curler.
Oh man, wow. Well, that happened not too long ago. When it happened by accident, actually.
The eyelash curler?
Yeah, somebody was doing some extensions, and they were trying to tie 'em up and stuff like that, and somehow they put something sticky on the hand because they were eating a glazed donut, which is good.
All right, switch places. You're the expert now. Go, focus.
Go. Focus.
Hamsters.
Oh, hamsters are amazing. If you put them out in the in the grass field, that you actually don't need a mower. They can actually just like eat all of the grass. I actually saw this on Facebook. This is actually real. And so they can actually just eat all of the grass. You actually don't need mowing. So it's like really like cheaper. You can have like 12 of them go out, into the grass. And popsicles. First of all, popsicles are very, very good because if you actually don't need like anesthesia. So if you get like your molars out and you just have everybody like eat popsicles instead, and it just makes your jaw really cold, and then you can actually use it post-surgery as well. Yeah,
Ayahuasca.
what cheaper? Ayahuasca. First of all, ayahuasca is like this amazing thing if you don't want to go into a cave, the cave that you were talking about earlier. If you just go into the cave
And make some cookies.
and make some cookies. And
All right,
ayahuasca, okay, no clue.
Okay.
Ayahuasca.
So let's talk about what was successful, what wasn't when you did that exercise. Let's start with what worked for you in both roles.
Oh, for me, I mean, it was a low lift, like you said.
a low lift.
I just could think of anything.
You could say anything.
Yeah.
It did not matter.
Yeah,
Right.
no, yeah.
You put the work on the other person.
Right.
Yeah, so I like that too. And actually that speaks to the power of asking the
Well,
question.
answer his question.
Yeah.
What else worked for you?
Well, what
Or
worked,
didn't?
Well, what worked for me on the heavy lift is that I had the freedom to make up anything I wanted to make up.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
How about on the other? Did you feel that you were supported, not supported? Could you think you could have been a better
I
partner?
think I threw you under the bus.
I think you did.
I think I did.
Yeah,
I think I did.
because you go.
But you
"What?
did.
What-
But he did
what'd
the
you do?"
opposite.
Yeah, he did.
He did do the opposite.
Yeah.
So this is the thing. It's
better
on both of
plan.
you, right? That's also the thing. It's like this is it's on both of
good
you.
point.
And if you see your audience, like if your audience is getting bored, that's as much on you as it is on them. The other thing is, and the Kellogg student I did this. One of the Kellogg students was like, I did not enjoy that because I think facts are important. I go, facts are important. You know when they're not important? When no one's listening to what the fuck you're saying.
Yeah, good point.
So you have to have both things. You have to be in a situation where people are wanting to listen to you. So when we unpack this, we talk about posture. We talk about, are you doing kind of the same story every time? Could you change up your story? How do you show your expertise? You were very much about like history of things, which is normally where a lot of people go. You kind of did something else of like, oh, I'm just going to go randomly talk about what a hamster does. That's fine too. If you can shake that up a little bit, it's fascinating. Because the people who are really good at this, I've done this when we do the example with Tyler Dean Kempf, my colleague. He's a genius at it because you really think he knows what he's talking about.
Oh, wow.
Because like 17th century in Milan, there was this inventor, blah, 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 and he's just doing it. It's like, because he can say anything.
Right.
And for people when they get stumbled, it's like, why are you stumbling? You have the world.
You can make anything up.
That's cool.
You have everything at your disposal because facts aren't important. And so sometimes, yes and is another idea around yes and is working from a place of abundance. And I know it's a very loaded word right now, but I think it's important because, the idea there is very simple, which is to get to a good comedic bit, you probably got to try out 1,000.
Really?
Sure. Yeah, just little bits and
Your
words.
material.
Yeah. So yes and is about building up. Like, yeah, we're going to try this. We're going to try that. We're going to try. We have 8 shows a week downstairs where we're trying things out to write the new show. All that. No different in any sort of space of innovation where you're needing to make things. So you learn to draw from everything. Everything in the room, shared experiences, your own past, and using the things you know is helpful. And then moving beyond the things you know
Yeah.
is fun too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and actually what could be fun too from an innovation perspective is actually to make up a story without worrying about the facts. Because you start developing a story, right? A narrative that could invite people to do yes and. Right?
I love novels, right? Why do we love novels or poetry? Because they're speaking a kind of truth to us that facts don't provide.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm actually writing a novel right
I was
now.
gonna say.
Not first time now, I've written for many years, nonfiction journalism, but I'm finding a real freedom in just making things up.
Right.
Yeah.
But in making things up, I actually get to a deeper truth
Yep.
that I couldn't get to because of the facts got in the way.
Yeah.
I learned more from Gabriel Garcia Marquez than I did from many classes I've taken. You know, I mean, or Don DeLillo or whoever. You know, the great novelists where it's like, oh no, you're getting at this through a different thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and actually, you know, one thing that we had talked about before was also about people with dementia.
Yeah.
Because this gets back to what is truth and what is, and many, you know,
And whose truth?
and whose truth, right? And many of us have people in our lives that are very close that have dementia. Can you share a little bit about what you?
So
how we think about this when it comes to dementia? Improv.
Yeah, so we created an improvisation for caregivers program. It was very interesting. So we were working at the University of Chicago with the Second Science Project. There had been a fire here at Second City. My office was destroyed. Wow. And I had recently stepped down from day-to-day producing, didn't know what I was going to kind of do next. Kind of lucked into this thing at University of Chicago, started doing my podcast, so some stuff started cooking. And I'm in these crappy offices, that before we moved to the Tribune Tower, which was great. And Adam Grant called me. I don't know if you know Adam, And I've been interviewed for almost every one of Adam's books and have not ended up in any of them. But we're friends. So he said to me, I got a friend who's moving to Chicago. Her name is Ai-jen Poo. Will you meet with her? And I'm like, sure, because that's what you do with Adam Grant. And I realized I didn't do any research because it was a very heady time, and so I had no idea who this person was, and it didn't end up mattering. She was one of my best friends in the world right now. And Ai-jen was a MacArthur Genius grantee. She is the executive director of the Domestic Workers Alliance and a group called Caring Across Generations. And she's brilliant and a fierce activist. And I went into this thing, I'm like, you don't know me, I don't know you, can I just tell you about my day? And so I started talking about these exercises and what we're working on. And Jen's like, I work with caregivers, they need this. And then I introduced her to my wife, Ann, and we're like, just like when we met our friend Heather at University of Chicago, I was like, this person's gonna be our friend forever, and it was true. So she was curating Aspen Ideas Festival, the health portion of it. And so we decided to do a presentation on this idea. And so it was Ai-jen and myself and Ann, my wife, and we did a thing on the main stage that went very well. Then we did a workshop, and there was a woman from the Cleveland Clinic who's like, I want to give you money to develop this.
Wow. Oh, wow.
So we developed a 6-week improv for caregivers program, which was, we found ourselves mostly working with people who were working with either family members or patients who had dementia. And so the yes and exercise was one that came in handy because the research was showing that blocking doesn't help the situation.
And what is blocking?
Blocking is like someone with dementia goes down the road of when my mom had it, she would talk about her days as a nurse, which she hadn't done since before I was born. And I was like, you're not a nurse anymore, Mom. You're here right now.
It's almost like a redirect.
Yes, but it doesn't work.
Right.
Because her reality is her reality.
Right.
And by the way, my reality is my reality, and I bet if we examined it, it's weak at best. So the yes and concept, say yes and. So you explore and heighten. So, yeah, Mom, what do you like about nursing?
Yep.
What do you not like about nursing? How long were you a nurse? Whatever, and then you have a conversation.
Yeah, that's right.
With this human. And yes, the wiring's different right now for whatever reason, but what we've seen over and over again in the studies that we did with Cleveland Clinic were that by the end of this 6-week course, overwhelmingly, people felt less burdened.
The caregivers did.
Oh, wow.
And I think it's twofold. It's one, these ideas of your techniques that can apply, which make maybe life a little bit more interesting and easy. But then also is also no, we also teach you to be an ensemble, and you all have each other. And the thing is, when you do these exercises over and over again with people, you build a pretty wild bond.
Yeah.
And you can just imagine, if you came to Second City every week for 3 hours, put down your phone, and did this level.
Yeah, that'd be.
I mean,
I know. I could totally see that.
You can
happen.
see it, right?
Yeah, I could totally see
and then,
that.
And then that's why these people are lifelong friends with the people they take classes
I could totally see that.
because it's just such a powerful experience.
Yeah.
And you're being so vulnerable and open, and then when someone is, returning that, it's amazing. So when Nora got sick, we applied all these exercises, and there was one that we created with Second Science Project, and it's around this idea of self-disclosure. And Nick Epley's work, he did an exercise, and he sent out 2 groups of grad students to go onto Chicago public transportation and have a conversation with a stranger. One group was given no instruction, whatever, just go have the conversation with a stranger, journal about it before, journal about it after. The other group was encouraged to ask them questions, do this other stuff. The people who were in that group with the asking questions, they had the best time. And they everyone said it was going to be horrible, like in the pre-journaling. And the people who came back who didn't do it say it was boring, we didn't, whatever. And this other group had a great time. So he asked Anne, he's like, build an exercise. So we built this exercise called Universal Unique. And in it, we pair people and we say, okay, you 2 are going to have a conversation about how human beings grocery shop. Just an example. Universally, that you go into the grocery store, you look for your items, you grab your cart, whatever, have that conversation. You do that for about a minute. We say, okay, now, you're gonna have a conversation with each other, but each of you are gonna talk about how you personally grocery shop. And guess what happens? It's fascinating.
Yeah, I was going to say, but it's
because
really interesting.
Because we're all freaks, right?
Yeah.
We all
do it the same,
do it
differently.
And we do it differently.
Yeah.
And then they're laughing, and you're like, did you learn something about the person? Like, absolutely, like you're talking about grocery shopping.
Yeah.
So at Lurie Children's Hospital, you have so many different caregivers. Come June, they're all different.
Yeah.
And it was very important for me that we very quickly taught them how we wanted to be treated. So the technique I would use, new caregiver would come in, I'm like, this is Kelly, I'm Kelly, this is Anne, we've worked at Second City for over 30 years. This is our daughter, Eleanor, she also goes by Nora. And we have a 100-pound Bernese mountain dog at home named Benchley, who's an asshole. Who are you? And you know what they did? Told us.
Yeah.
They would share. And then it very quickly, became like, this isn't Cancer Girl, this is Nora, who also goes by Eleanor. And then Kelly and Anne, we know they have the Second City, and what's a Benchley up to? Because we have this new pup, Benchley passed away last year, and we loved him so much, but he was a jerk. He's the one Bernese mountain dog that didn't like anyone, except for us.
That's rare.
So yeah, the new one is great.
Yeah,
Asta's great. But it was also, and I remember actually at rounds one time, Nora made all the doctors pull out and show us pictures of their cats or their dogs. And they all did.
Wow.
And so there was moments like that that were like, first of all, it lightened the room.
Yeah.
Second of all, it gave us a different kind of attention that we were looking for. And it goes both ways, right? Yeah. I was doing it for her, I was doing it for me, I was doing it for them. Then they started doing the same thing. Because and I wrote this article for Lurie because they asked me to, called Creating an Ensemble of Caregivers.
Wow.
And because we'd see people, there was a family next door, and the son was about 16. And he had relapsed. He had cancer again. And this time he didn't want anyone to know. So the parents couldn't tell anyone. The dad he couldn't tell anyone.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that is the worst.
Yeah.
Because I needed every human on the planet to know what was going on to help. Yeah. And we had, I kept a caring bridge. We had, every time Nora was watching Friends, some video would show up, and there's David Schwimmer saying, Nora, I hope you feel better, because Tina Fey saw it and sent a note, or whatever. I mean, this is it kept happening. Hillary Clinton sent her a note. Yeah. Oprah Winfrey sent her a note.
For goodness sake.
Wow.
So, we shared with you earlier, Kelly, that both of us have close family members who have dementia.
Yeah.
My dad has dementia. Has had it for a while and is now in advanced, stages. So, as you know, it kind of plateaus, and after a while it kind of drops. I mean, it just kind of quickly goes down this road. My dad's a former oncologic surgeon, and we owned 9 clinics. And one day, he came in. My mom is his major caregiver, and we were sitting there, and Dad kind of walked in and was like, the car didn't work and I couldn't get to the clinic. And we were all like, what? like he hasn't driven in years.
Yeah.
We closed the clinics a long time ago. We all kind of sat there. My sister, who's a behavioral therapist, was like, "Oh yeah, well, Dad, remember it's okay because the clinic was closed anyway today. So like the nurses, did it." And we all looked at Cecile, my sister, because we were like, "What are you talking about?" Because instinctively, like you said, we were like, that doesn't make any sense. Yeah. And so Dad goes, like you saw, he goes, oh, so did I miss that call? And Cecile was like, no, yeah, because like we took the call. Dad, I'm sorry. Like we just forgot to tell you.
Yeah.
The clinic was closed, and it was amazing. And the reason I'm bringing this up as I'm listening to you, Kelly, is because what I realized we had done as caregivers, because it had happened so many times, and we were trying to bring Dad to us.
Yeah.
Is we
Instead of
didn't
going to where he
realize
is.
right. We didn't realize that in the blocking we were also creating an objectivity. Like it's like you're like, you don't get it, Dad. Like, come on. Like, I need you. Because we wanted that Dad back. I mean, we still do, right? I still do.
Yeah.
But we realized that watching Cecile do that it was a richer.
That's right.
Space. It
Yeah.
was a richer experience, and we then became, and so we could have a conversation with Dad, and we haven't had a conversation with Dad really. And the conversations we were having were like, Dad, we got rid of the Mercedes a long time ago, and you don't remember. Like, look at we would pull pictures out.
Right.
Remember? And it was laborious.
And it
didn't matter.
It's a better story. She's writing a better story.
Yeah, right. And so I'm listening to you, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like it's amazing, like how, and now, I will tell you, I think we still kind of default to be like,
Of course you do.
what, like.
It's harder.
Yeah. And because you also know that with dementia, it happens, for him, he's on a 3 minutes, cycle. So 3 minutes later, he's still talking about this clinic.
Yeah.
So it gets exhausting, But I think giving these techniques, at least for caregivers, it's like, okay, I have something else to.
You're bringing play.
Yeah. Oh,
into
yeah.
it. You are bringing
That's
play.
interesting.
And we found out a long time ago that corporations don't want to buy play, so we don't talk about it like that here when we're trying to sell things.
Yeah.
What do you call it?
Improv.
Improv.
They'll buy improv. They're not going to buy
Yeah.
play. It's play.
But it's play.
And the thing is, like, what did we learn? How did we learn growing up?
Play.
Play.
Yeah.
And how should you continue learning? You play with the world. You like. I love the phraseology that people talk about, like, dancing with chaos. And that kind of language, because like, yeah, that's what you're doing at dance, and if you bring, and this is the thing about these very serious situations that we're talking about, was that lightness was so needed. I mean, whether it's hostage negotiators, or you've got a daughter who's sick, you've got a parent who's got dementia, all these things, like, that's life. And what I've learned is that the laughter and the lightness and the play is the thing that's needed in those spaces.
The very thing. It's not
the
the
very
distraction.
thing.
It's the thing.
No, it's
right?
the thing. Because it's. I said this to you earlier. This quote. So I had Morgan Housel on the podcast, and he's a finance writer. He's brilliant, and his books, like this one, I think it's called The Art of Money, or The Art of Spending Money. But he talks about his brother-in-law said something to him. His brother-in-law said, everyone's behavior makes sense if you have enough information.
Yeah.
And I was just like, that is the most brilliant thing, because that defangs everything. If you understand that everyone's behavior makes sense if you have enough information, it's like, oh, okay, well, let me be the one to take a beat, because I'm going to assume I don't know what's going on, and you're yelling at me about something.
Yeah.
I ran a video store in college, and
Like Blockbuster?
no, it was at Indy.
Okay.
Video Advantage in
Of
Wilmette,
course.
Illinois. Of course, it wasn't Indy. But Blockbuster people are evil. But Sandy Goldman, who ran it,
Look what
was
happened
great.
to him.
I love this guy. He's like, never argue with the customer. He's like, just ask them what they want. How do I keep your business? What do you want? And so it'd be like something like, I didn't like this movie. And it's like, okay, what do you want? Do you want it free? Here, it's free. And I was like, that is the most brilliant thing. And I was writing an article for Forbes actually earlier this week, and I recalled that, and I'm like, we use a term here in improv about like everything's a gift. And that what Sandy was also doing is like, just like think about it as a gift. I'm going to give you a gift. And when I first started out doing like group sales here, I remember I was the smart guy who was going to like follow up with the group to see if they had a good time. And that was really great until the person said, we had a terrible time.
Oh.
And then I just like instinctively dreamed like, okay, what would make it okay for you to come back? Because we value your business. It's like, I want free groups until I'm happy. I go, fine, you're done. So I gave her 30 free tickets the next time you came in, and guess what? She had a good time. She decided to pay for every other group.
Yeah.
So Kelly, you know, obviously you have so many stories
Yeah.
and a lot of success and in law enforcement and dementia and family and relationship, you know, and we've talked about risk, right?
Yeah.
And but now, given your experience
Yeah.
and who you are and this track record, do you have fear? Have you lost
God,
your
yes.
fearlessness?
No.
I mean, because you're
No.
asking us to say, just jump in.
Yeah. No, it doesn't. No, all that stuff still. I'm human, and humans get scared, and humans default to like bad, system one thinking. We do shortcuts because we have to. So no, it is being the best person I want to be is a ton of work. And I'm mostly unsuccessful at it, but I am successful enough at it, I think, that it's bearing out okay. But the Kelly who's talking to you about this is a much better Kelly than pre-Nora getting sick. I mean, the post-traumatic growth thing is true, and like my son Nick will say that he's like, you're an okay dad. You're a much better dad now.
Wow.
So I mean, it's like, and it was just, I was busy, and I wasn't there.
Yeah.
And actually, but I started that journey earlier. When I wrote the book, I actually quit Second City as a producer. There was stuff going on that I wasn't happy with, but they wanted me to stay. So they were like, take a year to build a bridge either in or out for yourself. And that's when all this other stuff started going on. Wow. So that's when I did the thing at University of Chicago, and I started the podcast and all this world. And because I built this new world for myself, I could go see every one of Nora's volleyball games.
Oh.
So even before she got sick, that relationship was great because I was there. And I'm like, oh, this is much better. And I was still able to do work, and I was making money for the company and all that stuff. So I was paying a different kind of attention to my life. And I don't know why I made the decision. I know why I made the decision to quit. And the funny thing I always say is like, the only way I could stay at Second City was by quitting.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah, it was not going in a direction that I liked. But I love this place, and it is me, and my wife's here, my kids grew up here. And so and my friend Heather, when we were doing the Second Science Project, because she's a behavioral scientist, she studies human behavior, and she goes, there's research that if you're successful in one thing and you keep doing that thing, you can make your money and people will give you money for things like that. You're not going to be happy. She goes, the people who are happiest are those who find adjacent expertise. And I thought about this with regard to my heroes, people like Lou Reed or Neil Young or artists who are constantly taking chances. And yes, no one should have to listen to Neil Young's Electronica album, but then he does Harvest Tour or whatever, and you're just like, oh my God, this is brilliant. But a lot of artists who challenge themselves and are not just doing the old hits.
Well, Eloisa and I are in that boat right now.
Yeah, we are.
We left corporate.
Yeah.
We
We were in the
launched
same
our own
field,
thing.
right.
Yeah.
She has a platform, I have a platform,
Yep.
but we have a joint platform.
Yep.
And the podcast is part of it, but we're doing other things too. And we're right at that edge, right?
Yeah,
Where
I
we sort
agree.
of have made a big bet.
Yep.
But it's not going to pay off right away.
No.
So what advice would you have for
was
us?
gonna say, please
and
tell
how
us
can
what
we
to
use
do.
improv in our moment of just
Like, save
holding
us.
hands and jumping
Jump.
over?
Yeah. You have you already did one thing, which is you leaned on each other.
Oh.
So that's great.
Yeah.
And lean on others, right? Because people
These
will
guys.
help you. Yeah. People are eager to see other people succeed. Have every conversation. Show up. I mean, the one thing is very easy in the world we live in right now to not show up physically. And for me, I remember the advice when I graduated from college, I wanted to be a playwright. My dad got me to these informational interviews, and I met with Bernie Solins, the founder of Second City, and he had sold Second City and he was starting his own thing, but he sort of said, if you want to work in theater, work in a theater.
Yeah.
And I never forgot that. So any place where I was interested in having relationship, I would try to physically go there. But this is what I do with my podcast, which is I look for the book that most interests me or the person, and I reach out, and 95% of the time I say yes. And then I have a deep 40 to 50 minute conversation with these people, and then they usually are like, you've got my email, you know, or maybe we work on something together.
Yeah.
And so that's that turning your relentless curiosity into a manifested physical thing. Show up, have the conversation, lean on the person.
Yeah.
Say the thing that you were reluctant to say. Tell people you love them. I tell people I love them all the time.
I love it.
And a lot of yes ands.
And a lot of yes.
yes
We're
ands.
experimenting with a lot of things.
Yep.
We are.
Yeah.
Kelly, oh my God, I don't want to stop this, but we have to
Yep.
So Kelly, in our podcast, we have what's called Disrupt GPS, where the two of us say kind of what we're taking away. Do you want to start?
Yeah, I'm just struck by something that happened here where, we're on a stage. We came through these doors, right? It's all, in a sense, fake. It's artificial, but it isn't.
No.
That there's a lot of truth that happened in this artificial stage, right? And the takeaway for me, and sort of as we leave this place, is as we continue building out our independent businesses together and take that leap, in some ways it's kind of fake. Because we're just talking about things that don't exist. It's just a vision, like we're just building a stage right now. But yet,
true.
I'm walking away saying, but if we follow some of your advice right here, and we do the both and have each other's backs and, and really speak truth and be present for each other, that I think we'll be okay.
Yeah, you're building the world.
We're building the world. And one other takeaway in terms of our Disrupt GPS is, we're doing this because we want other people to see the disruption, and I like this post-traumatic growth. We haven't used that term.
No,
but
we
I think
haven't.
it's
We
gonna-
need to.
it's
I
gonna
agree. We're going
seep
to
in,
use
but-
it.
because we say, rather than seeing disruption as the existential threat, see the opportunity in it.
That's
to
right.
do something you've always wanted to do and never thought you could.
Yeah.
And that disruption, now we use in improvise in it.
Yeah.
Is what could create new possibilities you never thought possible.
Yeah. Yeah. For me, there's actually this post-traumatic growth. So we'll send you actually the podcast. So a couple days ago, Kelly, we had a friend of mine, Holly Dunn, so she and I were elementary school friends. We kept in touch via Facebook. Holly Dunn is the sole survivor of a serial killer, the railroad serial killer. She's the sole survivor. And her story was, how did you get past that? She's built Holly's House, so she now helps, families with domestic violence, keeps women and children safe, and victims of domestic violence. And she said something. She said, "Do I wish that was the catalyst for me to do this? To be a book writer, to be, to help thousands of women, thousands of children, and even." Child Protective Services and the police, she's actually helped. She goes, did I want to watch my boyfriend get murdered in front of me and then me get potential, he was trying to kill me. And I remember she said to us, she said, I wish that Chris was here. And she said, and I wish that all of the victims were back. I would rather have them back. And she said, but I can't. And she goes, so that was one moment of my life. It was less than 24 hours. It was like a day.
Yeah.
And she goes, and I was given that opportunity to do something with it. And it was this post-traumatic growth. Because as soon as you said that, I was like, that's what we were talking about. Like, that's amazing. So for me, and I remember she said to us, she said, everybody goes through crisis. She goes, this is crisis, this is trauma. And I was like, yeah, but you're also, she goes, no, I'm not, everybody goes
Everyone
through
goes
some,
through it.
yeah. And she said, but what I'm saying is that you also have a choice, and she told us about the story of her laying in the bed and making a choice in the day. And I'm listening, to this. And so that's why I think that's a massive pull through for me, just understanding that failure is okay, trauma is okay, but it is like, how are you actually pulling through? And then my, final and really I think the biggest takeaway for me is like, Nora is just a hero, is my hero. She really is, like, just listening to these stories. This 8-year-old who did, I can see her with the jacket and the thing, and then like what we're going to do. She had it. But what I love about that is that, first of all, because I'm also I think of myself as an active and proactive parent, but that you gave her that opportunity, you know, to say, and you put it back, you know, on her, and then she decided to be like, okay, you know, I'm gonna do it, and then I love that. For me, that's a really, really big takeaway, and also to see as she was in the hospital and to ask people to bring pictures of their dogs. I mean, you talk about being present. She didn't need to be present in that moment. Like, I'm gonna cry, but like that was like so like moving.
Yeah. Well,
So,
I mean, you're for us it was so instinctual because it was like we just moved into the mode.
Yeah.
You know, and we had to, and it worked. It's interesting. I was reading this article the other day, and in one of my TEDx talks I gave a long time ago, I talked about the idea of improvisers mindfully linger inside a mistake.
Oh, nice.
And like that's also what we're talking about, right? Because this wasn't supposed to happen to her, and but it did.
Yeah.
So I lived inside what it was. I was as mindful as I could be, and we just played with it.
Yeah.
And yeah, bad outcome.
Yeah.
Bad outcome. But you know, there was other songs to be sung.
Yeah.
There's other books to be written, and so that's what you do.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for being with us.
All right, thank you.
Yes, what a pleasure. What a privilege.
And thank you so much for being with us. You can find Kelly. Tell them where they can find you, either online or here. Like, where are we?
Secondcity.com. My podcast is everywhere. We have a new YouTube page for the Getting ESN podcast, which is produced by WGN Radio and the Second City. I'm easy to find on all the socials.
Follow, hit that subscribe button, and you know what? Improv your way through life.
That's right. Let's see what you do.
Thanks so much.
Ciao.
See you later.